Good morning, Mary.
Good morning, Danielle. How are you today?
I'm good. What have you got there?
And cheers.
Oh,
cheers.
nice.
I have a soy cappuccino made by my faithful barista Roman.
Oh,
Okay, he does quite a good job, actually. Yes.
Lovely.
So
I must
cheers.
say, isolation suits you. You look amazing.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Look, I have to say this is the first time I've actually put any little bits of makeup on for several weeks now. And I did surprise myself when I looked in the mirror. I thought, oh my God, there's a few things I need to dig out of that face, girl. But anyway, we'll do that another time.
Hopefully, in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we'll just have to wait and see.
So for those of anyone that could possibly not know you, can you tell me your name and where your clinic is?
Okay, yes, I am Dr Mary Dingley and my clinic is in Toowong in Brisbane.
Oh, I'm going to put a nice little backdrop on for us so we can see Brisbane. Hang on a minute.
Oh, your glasses have just turned blue. What have you done?
I'm about to change our backdrop to...
Oh, okay.
Oh, I can't find us. Where are you, Brisbane?
Oh, like they do on the news when you've got the sort of backdrop of Brisbane behind it or something.
Come on, I don't know where I've done with it now. There we are.
Oh, there we go, the Story Bridge. Yeah. That's excellent.
I thought that would
feel
be
like
fun.
I'm on Channel Cutera News, yes.
So Mary, what made you get into this industry?
Oh gosh, look, we're going back an awfully long time now, back to the 80s. Okay, and probably a lot of our viewers weren't even born then. But look, I'd left the public hospital system. I'd been streaming mainly surgically, and I was a little bit jack of the chauvinism and politics and sexual harassment that was going on at the time, and I really just fell into it. I mean, cosmetic medicine, let's face it, didn't really exist at that time. Collagen had only just sort of come into the country. So I was one of the very first people to start using that, and then also to start teaching it and things. And things just grew. So we didn't have botulinum toxin in those days. We didn't have all the plethora of lasers and energy-based devices that we had in those days. So just step by step, we could, increase what we were able to do. And in those days, there was no advertising. It was illegal to advertise. So it was a totally different ballgame in that time. So it was really very much word of mouth. So it was one of those sort of things that you just sort of took step by step and just very, very slowly increase things, which was fine because obviously we were all learning at that time as well. It wasn't like you could go and do a course because courses didn't exist. And then as the various energy-based devices came along, we could just, again, start one at a time because they were only being formulated and discovered and built and those sort of things one at a time at that stage. So it was very much a slow increase and expansion of the practice. And then many years later, we were able to advertise. But I have to say that I'm really a bit of a dinosaur in that field because I really don't market and advertise and that sort of thing the way many people when they get into the industry now do, trying to get an instant client base or patient base, as I like to say. But for those of us who did start in those days, and there weren't very many of us, I have to say it was a good way for us to be able to start because you really could get good at what you were doing before you moved on to anything else. And those people who didn't have the aptitude for it left, which they don't these days, unfortunately.
Well, that's a question I have for you later. So what do you love most about this industry now?
Well, it is a very dynamic industry and there is always something new coming to be able to learn about, offer to people and so on. But like many industries or any kind of professional work practice, it's the people that you meet that make things interesting. So it's those patients that come in every day and generally they're very happy to be there. It's not like they're sick and they have to see you. They're there because they want to see you, because they want what you can offer for them. And they're generally happy with the results. So it's a very positively rewarding sort of field. And so you also do tend to build up a nice relationship with these people. Generally, you like them and they like you. They're happy with the results. So it's a very positive sort of industry in that way.
So I know that you have used a lot of devices in your career. So why did you choose the TrueSculpt ID for the clinic?
Well, yes, you're right. I have had a lot of devices over time, and Cutera was probably a little bit unlucky in their timing when they came to Australia, because everything they had, I already had something that did those things. So they did have some very good pieces of equipment in the way of platforms and so on. And if I hadn't already had quite a few lasers, I probably would have had a platform from Cutera a lot earlier in my career as well. But with the TrueSculpt ID, James Bartholomew's, who you and I know very, very well, and strangely enough, I was actually James's very first port of call when he started in this industry. So that's something that we have had in common for a long time. But James is one of those great innovators in the industry, and he's also good at sorting out the problems. So a lot of laser companies have actually used him as a consultant, and he has worked for various different companies over time, and he's now based in the States, as you know. But I'd seen the TrueSculpt over a few, I think it's a third generation now. Yeah, and basically I'd seen, and you'd brought previous generations to the clinic, and I thought, it's just not really quite there yet. It was a little bit too intensive. I didn't feel that the temperature was getting there easily enough and detectably enough, and so on. So when the TrueSculpt ID came along, it was a lot more reliable, I thought, and also having the 2 megahertz, it just did make a lot more sense in terms of getting the target temperature in the target tissue. And it was also a lot easier for the girls to use. And you could really apply it directly where you wanted to have it. And we also have cool sculpting, and we'd had that for a number of years, and that's also a very good technology. But it's not always easy to apply, and there are some areas where it's less effective. So with the TrueSculpt ID, we could always target pretty much any area a lot more easily, a lot more quickly, and also in a lot better fashion than we could with the previous generations of the technology.
So tell me how a typical patient would arrive and how you approach the treatment plan then.
In terms of the TrueSculpt?
Yes, please.
Yeah, because obviously we do lots of things, they're all quite different. But I mean, generally the patient will come in and they have a certain concern. It says, I want to reduce fat in a certain area. And we will always have a bit of an overall look at them. Okay, I mean, is this really a weight loss patient? Does this patient need to do something for themselves in terms of diet and exercise? Generally speaking, most people have done a little bit of research already. And although, yes, we do have some people come in who really need to do something more for themselves, first of all, most people who come in are pretty much where they want to be in terms of their weight. But they do have those troublesome areas. And so basically we have a bit of a look at them and see where those troublesome areas are, look at their overall bodily proportions and see whether we can make them look a little bit more proportionate in what they want. And then we'll have a bit of a touch and squeeze and a feel, okay, and then the girls will generally take over, and once I've sort of shown them the areas that we need to do, they will take all the measurements and go ahead with the treatment. So it's often not on that same day. Mm-hmm. Some patients will need to do a little bit of work themselves first. Okay, but for some people it's often a little bit of a kickstart for them as well, because now they've got a goal they want to work towards. Okay, I will lose 5 kilos, 2 kilos, 10 kilos, whatever it is. Come back and have another assessment at that stage and go from there.
And when you first got the device, how did you market it? How did you let people know that it was available, and was anything particularly successful? Or
Well, as I said before, we're not the biggest marketers in the world, okay? So I wouldn't suggest that people need to follow our model, because most people are going to be a lot more aggressively advertising marketing than we are. Because we already had the cool sculpting, okay, it's the same sort of population that we're looking at. So we already had some people coming through that were interested in you know, bodily proportion, contouring, change already. Okay, so we basically we're just sort of seeing who would be better with the TrueSculpt ID than with the cool sculpting. Some have heard of one technology and they haven't heard of the other, but they may be better suited to one than the other because of where we're looking at and so on and so forth. So there wasn't that much of a change we needed to make. It was just basically including that as well with the messages that we had.
Great. I'm going to ask you something fun now. So what's your favourite isolation outfit?
I'm sorry, what was that?
What is your favourite isolation outfit?
Oh, goodness. Okay. Look, I mean, generally speaking, when I'm at work or any other day, I hate wearing dresses. Okay, they just don't really, I feel, suit my body proportions because I have a very short torso. But Roman likes me to wear things like that. So I have actually been wearing just some simple shift sort of dresses and things like that, which are just easy to put on. You know, you can see my legs. Ooh, okay. Actually, I don't have bad legs, I have to say, but yeah, generally speaking, they're not practical for me. In a work environment, I will generally have a pantsuit on. So it's a little bit different in that way. But I wouldn't say it's my favourite. I would say it's Roman's favourite.
Did the two of you binge watch anything on Netflix?
We have been doing a bit of that, I have to say. Well, we have Netflix, we also have Prime, and we also have Stan. Okay, so I don't know whether it's all going to be on specifically Netflix, but we've been doing a bit of comedians in cars getting coffee, which is a Jerry Seinfeld thing where he gets in a car, a different one every episode, and then goes and picks up a comedian and they go and have a chat and a walk around and a coffee and things like that. And that's been quite amusing. I have to say that it's quite obvious he doesn't always like the person he's having coffee with. But it's, and some of them I can't understand a word they say. This is Americans, but yeah, strange. We watched the series of Bloom, which is an Australian production. They've got 2 series out now, which is, I thought it was quite well done for an Australian series as well, because it was an outback country town and they find this little berry that grows where people have died, okay? And if you eat it, it takes you back to your youth, how you looked when you were young, but you still have all your memories and things of everything else. But initially it doesn't last very long. So after a while they go back to being old again. But then they find that if a berry grows on the grave of someone who had eaten a berry beforehand, it lasts longer. And you know, then of course everybody's personality changes and they start fighting and all of this sort of thing as well. So that was quite interesting.
Written that down.
What else did we? And we've seen a few movies and things like that as well. We had actually quite a strange one perhaps. It's a German language movie called Look Who's Back. Mm-hmm. And it's in the style of Sacha Baron Cohen, where he, you know, plays a character that then goes and talks to ordinary people and gets them to sort of say what they really think, okay, and so on. So this is in German language, and it's basically Hitler comes back. Okay, so you know, if you've seen any of the stories about Hitler when he chopped himself in the bunker, they burnt his body. Him and his wife Eva Braun, but at that exact same spot, poof, he just suddenly reappears in the current day, and then he gets filmed as a comedian, basically, sort of going around and talking to people, but he's actually saying exactly the same message as Hitler did pre-war, okay, and it's showing people's responses to what he was saying. And yeah, it's one of those funny but also quite disturbing films.
Okay.
But it does have subtitles, so if you don't speak German, it's okay. You can still get the gist of it, yes.
I'm going to sounds great. So what are you doing at the moment to engage with your patients during this lockdown period?
Well, we still do blogs, okay, so we have them written and I sort of correct them. I'm famous for doing that, I'm afraid. But yeah, we send those out, and you know, obviously, if people have got an appointment still booked in, we let them know, look, yeah, we're still closed, but we will be reopening at some point and things like that. So we're not sort of bombarding people with messages or anything like that. We still have our website up. It's got a note saying that we are closed at the moment and things like that. But so we're doing a little bit, but we're not doing a lot.
Yeah. How have you been able to encourage the staff during this period?
Well, my lovely practice manager is still coming in and doing a bit of admin stuff on occasion, and it's always good to see her. And we're still keeping contact with everybody on email. We are still paying them, and obviously the JobKeeper allowance will hopefully make that a little bit more affordable for us as well. We did send the flu shots out to them, so they'll get a free flu shot. Yay! So hopefully that'll stop them getting anything else. Yeah. But yeah, so we keep in contact with them, and you know, we've got their. Yeah, they send me text messages, and I send them text messages, and we've got the email contact and that sort of thing as well.
No, nice to stay in touch. So for someone who is interested in getting into lasers or technology in their practice, why would the True Sculpt be a product you would recommend?
Look, I think if you're getting into lasers, I don't think the True Sculpt is probably your first port of call. If you're thinking of getting into that and you're in a cosmetic practice per se, and you're doing some injectables or something like that, I think the bread and butter of energy-based devices is your vascular and pigmented lesion type lasers or devices or something like that. So I'd probably steer you more towards that. If you have a practice which is already inclined towards the body, then maybe the True Sculpt ID would be appropriate for you. But the regular sort of practice, I think it's probably not your first machine.
Mm-hmm. If you could invest in the next big aesthetic technology to complement your practice, what would it be?
Oh, well, that's easy. Okay, that's going to be the Flex. Okay, the True Sculpt Flex. So I think that's a natural sort of ongoing sort of thing from the True Sculpt ID, because not just are you then contouring in terms of fat reduction, but you're also improving the muscles. Okay, so you're having a better muscle tone, but also definition. And people stand better when their muscles are better coordinated and all of that sort of thing as well. So you are going to get a better overall body look if you've got the fat reduction as well as the muscles. So I think that's a natural complementary sort of thing. So I'm very much looking forward to you telling us that the TGA is sort of on board with that, and we've got the everything through for that. And also once we get back in our clinics, we can look forward to receiving those sorts of machines in the near future.
Oh, that's exciting. So who do you admire from this industry? Anyone in particular?
Oh, well, I think anybody who's ever used a laser, Rox Anderson is right up there. I mean, he really is the godfather of this whole industry. So, I mean, for those of you who don't know, the theory of selective photothermolysis is Rox Anderson's baby, and he has developed a lot of technologies through laser hair removal, to fractionated lasers, and a whole other sort of genre. Okay, it's a genre upon genre of lasers and energy-based devices. I think also Christine Derricks, okay, who's Belgian, America, and back to Luxembourg and all over the place, but she's just one of these really calm, forthright, female dermatologists, and I just really, really like the way she presents and comes across, and yeah, no, she's just really good. In terms of non-laser type people, Yanni van Lochel from the Netherlands, okay, probably because I'm one of the few people who can say van Lochel without sort of tripping over their tongue, and Kate Goldie from the UK.
Oh, nice. So do you have any ideas around business, like when we get back from COVID, like to how to rebuild, or, you know, is there anything in particular that you're working on?
Well, having spoken to a few patients who've got my emergency pager number from the from our answering machine and have still paged me to say, when are you opening? Because obviously that's an emergency and we are an essential service. They keep telling me this all the time. I really think that as soon as we do reopen, we are going to have people coming in again, because they are hanging out for it. Yes, there may be some people who are a little bit short of funds because they've been out of work or whatever, and that will obviously be a little bit of an ongoing thing the longer this relative lockdown continues. But I think as soon as we are open, I think people will return and return fairly quickly. So I'm quite hopeful that we'll be quite busy quite quickly. Otherwise, it's just a matter of announcing things, okay, and then sort of, if you're into promotions and marketing, just sort of ramping that up again. But I think we can't be too forceful with people. They may come in and do, relatively small things depending on their cash flow in those early phases. But, I don't think really that we're going to have a problem. There may be some clinics who are a little bit teetering financially anyway, and there may be fewer clinics around, I don't know, okay. But for those of us who've been around a while, okay, I think that people will return because we have that patient base there, and they're generally fairly loyal, and I think they will return quite well.
Good. Is there any kind of support you would like from me or Cutera during this period, or when we return? Okay, well, just get that TGA approval through so that we can sort of start with the flex and things like that. That would be good. Okay. I'm not sure whether your factory over in the US, is it up and running again? Because I think they had to close down for a little bit as well. So we're skeleton staff there, but yeah, we're still managing. Yeah. We're ready to go. Hope. Sorry, what was that? We are ready to go. Oh, good. Okay, excellent. Yeah. We have lots of e-learning available as well, so don't forget, if the girls want to do some education, we can do that virtually with me. Yeah. A lot of things. Yeah, I mean, that's a good thing with Cutera, that you do have that sort of education base, and even though the interstate travel might be a little bit sort of still restricted for longer, there's always those virtual things as well, which is good. It's fun too. It's lots of fun. So what do you like to do when you're not at work? Okay, well, apart from the current situation, most of my time is actually spent at work. And I mean, Rome and I do like to go to the movies, which obviously we can't do at the moment except at home. I do a bit of fitness work with Pilates, and we do actually have a resistance treadmill, which is quite hard work to keep me sort of fit. And I have to say I'm much fitter now that I have more time. And as you probably are aware, that motorsport is a big thing in our family. So, we do have the 3-time Australian National Formula 3 champion living at home and making me coffee every now and again. Okay, so, we do follow the Formula 1 and the MotoGP and so on, but we also like to send Roman off to win some races here and there as well. Again, not happening at the moment. And we did actually have a big plan mid-year to head off to Europe for him to do another race at Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium, but that's been put off. But that was going to be a big highlight of the year. But yes, we'll just have to do that another time as well. Next year. Do you know any funny jokes, Mary?
Look, I'm not actually a big joke teller. I'm more the sort of funny anecdote type person. And oh gosh, I mean, well, just talking about international travel as we just were, which is not happening. But Roman and I came home from overseas once, and we got back into Brisbane Airport. We got through security, picked up our bags, went through customs, got in the cab, came home, and then I was just walking across the lounge room, and I just stopped and sort of think, I have no memory of how we got here. Okay, I just had this big gap, because on the flight, I'd actually, this is a few years ago, taken some Stilnox, you know, a sleeping tablet, to see whether I could get some sleep, which I don't sleep well on planes. And I don't think I did sleep, but it gave me a big memory gap. And so it was like, you know, hours, I'm sure. It'd be just like, you know, going to hospital and having a procedure with some midazolam or something like that. You just have this amnesia for that period. And then all of a sudden I went, I'm only just now laying down memory. And so Roman says to me, I thought you were being unusually compliant. Oh dear. But anyway, so it's not a joke, but it's a little bit of an amusing thing, which hopefully some medical people might understand.
Is there anything you'd like to say to your clients or to the industry right now?
Oh, look, I think just hang in there. Okay, I mean, this will pass, and we will get through it. So just, you know, hang in there, you know, chin up and all of that sort of thing. You know, British stiff upper lip, and you know, stay positive, okay, and you know, keep yourselves healthy and you know, as fit as you can with what you have available. Try not to get too much into the alcoholic side of things, but yeah, and just make the best of the situation. We're all in it, and you know, just do the best you can, and then we'll see you all on the other side.
Yeah, that's nice. Thanks for having a coffee with me, Mary.
Oh, thank you, Danielle. It's good to see you. Okay, and cheers. Okay, and thanks for going to all the trouble of having the Brisbane backdrop behind you there. Okay.
My pleasure. Actually, Brisbane too.
Yeah, yeah. Well, actually, this is an Italian backdrop behind me. I don't know whether you can see that. It's a plate from Siena, and it's got what's his name, Guido Riccio de Fogliano. And he was one of the chaps that sort of was a knight. He went out and saved the city of Siena when they were besieged by one of the other neighbouring, you know, kingdoms, provinces, or wherever they were at that stage. But I bought that from Siena in pre-Roman times. Okay, so I was driving all around Italy in sort of pre-GPS times, when you had to stop and have a look at a map and all of that sort of thing, which was quite interesting, sort of being by myself and doing that. And sometimes you actually have to stop on like a traffic island or something to say, okay, which way am I supposed to be going? Because all of their signs are right at intersections instead of before them. So you can't make up your mind, I am going to turn right. It's always, oh, I should have turned right there. And you have to sort of do a U-turn and come back. But anyway, that's the backdrop there. It's a big plate from Siena.
It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Well, I hope to see you soon. We can flex together.
Absolutely, that would be lovely, Danielle. Okay, great to see you.
Just let me know.
Okay, lovely. I've still got this one to go. Okay, thanks, Danielle.
Bye.
Bye.